But who would have thought way back when, doing all these business deals that these skills would come in handy in that kind of situation? So these law enforcement, police officers, child protective services, they eventually did arrive. The mission was a success. They rescued these children. First, where do these kids come from? Where do they find them? And is it, uh, why isn't there more attention being put on it, or at least before the Sound of Freedom? Uh, I'm just, it seems like there should be like not like the war on drugs or war on terror, right? That is very successful, but why don't we have a war on trafficking?
Well, the sad truth, there's a lot more people involved than we want to believe in Hollywood, big media, politics. There's a lot. All the way up the line. You look at the Jeffrey Epstein situation. Jeffrey Epstein was not operating alone. If you are an agency who wants to control the votes of a senator, of a congressman, of a federal judge, if you want to control their votes forever, get that kind of blackmail on them. It's sad, but that's how dirty this swamp is, and it's happening everywhere, and our children are the ones that are suffering the most. So now here's an important answer to that question as well. Parents will leave the movie Sound of Freedom, and they'll be all, okay, I want to do something. How can I help? What can I do? Well, the worst thing that you can do is go to Colombia and try to go rescue children. You're gonna get shot. Okay? The best thing you can do is go home and hug your children. And people say, well, how does that help if I hug my children? Well, the majority of trafficking of children taken from one place to another comes from children from broken homes or runaways or a broken foster care program. A healthy nucleus family is the best deterrent against child trafficking. And in addition to that, though, in addition to those children, yes, things happen like what you see in Sound of Freedom, where there's once in a while there's a healthy family that is broken apart by this. That usually will happen in second and third world countries, like we showed in the movie. In fact, there are thousands and thousands of children every year that are being taken from healthy families that are impoverished here in Latin America and taken up across the border and being infiltrated into the U.S. and being trafficked in the U.S. right now. And that's an entire other discussion on where that's coming from and who's paying for it, et cetera. But it's also important for parents to understand that their relationship with their children is the best deterrent of all. The majority of children who are being exploited, who are being abused sexually, who are being sold even for sex, the majority of them sleep in their own beds at night and their parents don't even know. You need a relationship with your children where they can very comfortably come to you and say, hey, Dad, I don't like it when you tell me to hug Uncle Harry because he touches me weird and he tells us that we should have secrets that are away from you. Or I don't like it when I go to this friend's house because her brother takes pictures of us when we're changing and he says sexual things to me. Or I don't like this babysitter because she shows us pornography and tells us that we should trust her more than you. These are grooming behaviors. And we as parents need to be very aware of these things. And again, Liberating Humanity has lots of free tools for parents to learn how they can keep their children safe and situational awareness and signs that tell them that maybe their child is in a situation that they need to intervene.
It's absolutely disgusting. It's reprehensible. And standard, everyday a U.S. citizen would think the same thing, that that couldn't be happening here. Where is all the demand? Where are these children being abducted? Where are they going? Who's buying them?
Well, that's the sad answer. America, the United States, is the number one producer and consumer of child pornography. And it's first world countries like the US, like the UK, that are the demand side, that are traveling to second and third world countries like Ukraine, like Cambodia, like Thailand, like Colombia, are and exploiting these children that are already vulnerable because of poverty, because of the legal systems that are in place that are not there to protect them. So that's where the demand is coming from. And unfortunately, a lot of these countries, places like Nicaragua and Honduras and others, even Mexico, these children are now being moved to the US. The border issue should have never been a political issue either way. This is a human trafficking issue. There's over almost 400,000 children that have undocumented, unaccompanied children that have come across the US border in the last 4 years. In fact, the State Department has admitted that they have lost 85,000 of them. Lost, gone, right? No records of where they went, etc. And here's what's happening. Just like in the movie Sound of Freedom, where the little boy, the trafficker told him, listen, you don't want something bad to happen to your sister, do you? Well, you're going to do exactly what I say and nothing will happen. Well, these children are being controlled through through fear. I know where your mother lives. I know where your sister goes to school. So the best thing that you can do to keep them safe is do what we say. And these kids are raped, they are put on drugs, and then they are brought up to the US border where they are given a phone number and an address, and not enough of them are being vetted to make sure that they're healthy families that these children are going to. We need to do more to protect the children, not only the ones that are already Americans, but the ones that are coming across, to ensure that they are not being taken into trafficking rings here in the US, because this is where the problem is.
I definitely want to talk more about the solution and, Sound of Freedom 1 year later. First, I want to, after that first mission and it was a success, you got back home. What was it that called you back to that second mission and then the next 68 missions? Wasn't there some pushback? I mean, you have a quote unquote real life, you're a businessman, family, friends. This is a huge decision. It was a huge life change. What was it?
Well, I'll take you back right when I got the phone call from the Homeland Security agent that Jim Caviezel plays. I was there with one of my business partners, and I immediately agreed to go on this first mission. And he had called John after that. John was the co-founder of the funds with me, and John called me. It was about an hour after I had made that commitment, and he said, Paul, he said, I heard about what you're thinking of doing. He said, have you thought this through? He said, this is very dangerous. He said, you're set. You have an incredibly successful company, a beautiful life. He said, you could work a few more years, continue building it, sell out, buy an island, and be happy the rest of your life. And my answer was this. I said, John, would I really be happy if I bought an island, if I bought another plane, if I bought another helicopter? I said, would that really make me happy? I said, and if I was doing something else dangerous tomorrow, if I was climbing Everest, you and I would have the same conversation. He said, yeah, we probably would. I said, and when I'm 95 years old and I look back on my life, And I'm telling my grandchildren and great grandchildren about what my life was like. And I say, I climbed this mountain, or I built this multi-billion-dollar company, or I played a part in helping to rescue this many children from slavery. Which of them matters? And John said, you're right. That's even if you can just rescue one child, that's worth it. So then on the mission itself, after the agents came and stormed the party and arrested everybody, the Child Protective Services people came in with the children, and they were trying to calm the children down because there was a lot of commotion going on with the guns coming in, the agents, and arresting everybody. And they were calming these children down, and they started laughing. They started singing with the children. And that sound of freedom was the most beautiful sound that I ever heard. I started crying, especially compared to the crying that we heard half an hour before coming from the children. And we were being led off the island, and they weren't supposed to tell the children that we were the good guys. But somebody must have said something, because that little girl, that same one that Fuego showed me in the picture on his phone, the same one that was standing there in front of me with the tear stains on her face, she was standing there by the window. Her hand was on the window. She was crying again, but she was smiling and waving. And she said in her broken English, she said, "Thank you, Americans." And I started crying. And I turned to the agent that was with me and I said, "I've spent my whole life in the pursuit of money and making rich people richer. I said, I want to make a difference. I said, I'll write you a check." I was going to buy a Lamborghini. I had a white Aventador convertible that I had on my vision board that I was going to buy that year. I told him, "I'm going to write you the check instead. I want to contribute to this. What do you need?" And he said to me, he said, "Paul," he said, I can't teach my Navy SEALs how to do what you just did. I can't teach them how to negotiate these big deals. These traffickers are looking for Jeffrey Epstein type guys." He said, "And I've never seen an ultra successful businessman who's had the training that you've had." He said, "If you're willing to be the bait, I'll change your whole life." And that was the beginning of a radical change in the life of Paul Hutchinson. And I began as the wealthy guy that was funding him, and within a year and a half was asked to go deep cover to actually help lead some of the missions in downtown Mexico City, Port-au-Prince, Haiti, Cancun, and others, to identify the traffickers and bring them to justice.